My name is David Daniel Ball, and these are the headlines for Monday, the 9th of March, 2009. Near miss-tipped, Hamish now likely to hold its path out to sea, poor Anna Bligh. She can't even rely on a natural disaster for her election campaign. Stewart's future in doubt over sex assault claim. Rudd red-faced over swearing slip-up, several. Hughes leads charge as Australia dominates Proteas. That's in cricket. India belts 392 to beat Kiwis in one-day spectacular. Also in cricket. Job ads dry up. Traditionally strong February is weak. Mr. Pitt goes to Washington. Brad charms House Speaker. Rihanna will testify if called, says lawyer. Iraq homicide bomber targets police, killing 28. Obama's plans at work. And in comments, don't be fooled, Obama's plans to raise everyone's taxes. From James Pinkerton, stuff the beast. That's Slate.com blogger Mickey Cowes' pithy summary of a strong argument made by another blogger, Ross Douthat of TheAtlantic.com, analyzing the Obama administration's fiscal strategy. Douthat's argument is that Obamans tend to create so many new federal entitlement programs, healthcare most obviously, but also elements of the stimulus package plus green energy, etc., that taxes will have to go up eventually, big time. For his part, Douthat labels this strategy the pursuit of social democracy, as in the pursuit of political, economic policies of Western Europe, which mostly American liberals yearn to bring to the US. Raise federal spending now and higher taxes for everyone will have to follow, and voila, we get social democracy. But as Cowes puts it, stuff the beast is the polar opposite of Stockman's starve the beast idea of a quarter century ago. Back in the early 80s, Stockman, the director of the Office of Management and Budget under President Reagan, argued for cutting taxes now because eventually spending would have to come down, tugged downward by the gravity of deficit phobia. The starve the beast strategy didn't work perfectly because spending never really came down. But over time, thanks to Reaganomics, overall economic growth accelerated and the budget came into balance by the late 90s. And of course, economic growth is much more important than deficit. From Tim Blair, Golf 2, Paul Sheehan predicts a Whitlamist course for the current PM. It is going to be fascinating to see how long Kevin Rudd, the greatest illusionist ever to become Prime Minister of Australia, can maintain this illusion of omnipresent leadership created by his energy, his ubiquity, and his hypocrisy underline hypocrisy. Rudd is on course to become the next Gough Whitlam, but Whitlam without the wit. Like Whitlam, he may win a second election before the electorate wakes up. At least comrades Whitlam was stuck with a claque of criminals in his ministry, Al Grasby, Jim Cairns, Rex Connor, whereas Rudd has no such impediment. This is the man who has offered no structural relief to the great job-creating engine of the economy, small business, and this is the man who panicked at the first sign of danger and sprayed the entire $20 billion budget surplus he'd inherited against a wall. Rudd will likely win a second election thanks to liberal incompetence. I think Tim means journalist incompetence. But you'd imagine he'll be struggling beyond that. Speaking of spraying billions against a wall, Doug Ross charts the Dow reaction to Obamanomics. And an update, Newsweek's Raina Kelly, who happens to be black, urges journalists to grow a pair when it comes to discussing the current president. Dear fellow journalists, especially the ones on TV, can I offer you a bit of unsolicited advice? Be brave. Listening to you talk and talk and talk around the subject of Barack Obama and race has been downright painful. Yes, our new president is black and most of you are white, and judging by the way you excruciatingly measure every word you say about him, it's pretty clear that you're worried that you'll inadvertently say something insensitive and you'll wind up being accused of racism and it will ruin your career. I understand your fear, but seriously, it takes for some pretty painful watching. And from Tim Blair, watch what you say, Christopher Hitchens on Islamic exceptionalism. Islam affirms itself as the last and final revelation of God's word, the consummation of all the mere glimpses of truth vouchsafed to all the foregoing faiths, available by the way of unimprovable, immaculate text of the recitation or Quran. If there is sometimes seems to be something implicitly absolutist or even totalitarian in such claims, it may result not from a fundamentalist mindless reading of the Holy Book, but from the religion itself. And it is the so-called mainstream Muslims grouped in the Organization of Islamic Conference who are now demanding through the UN that Islam not only be allowed to make such absolutist claims, but that it be officially shielded from any criticism as a result. Hitchin's review of this UN bid is memorable. To read on his conclusion, the thought buried in this awful wooden prose is as ugly as the language in which it is expressed. Watch what you say, because our declared intention is to criminalize opinions that differ with the one true faith. Let nobody say that they have not been warned. Rudd swears by the mob. Kevin Rudd manages to speak without swearing in most public places, but let him loose at a Channel 7 show for the cash-strapped masses and he's suddenly swearing like he imagines they do too. Bash the boss and never mind the jobs. Bloody-minded unions are so blinded by far-left politics that they seem determined to cost the jobs of Pacific Brand's remaining 5,000 workers too. Pacific Brands has cancelled its own shows at the L'Oreal Melbourne Fashion Festival amid howls of outrage over its huge job cuts. ACTU argues for Costello. The latest ACTU ad even shows a picture of Peter Costello to remind workers of the good times. The wrong gunman, from Andrew Bolt. So much for the gun buyback, which seems to have removed guns only from the lawful. Guns now outnumber people in some areas of New South Wales, as the latest firearms registry figures show alarming local spikes in weapon numbers, including in Sydney's crime hotspot suburbs. Nothing better to do than sweet talk Bhutan. What a bizarre misallocation of time and money is Kevin Rudd's desperate campaign for a temporary seat on the UN Security Council. The newly credentialed ambassador to the Holy See is already in Mr. Rudd's good books. In December, Tim Fischer travelled deep into the Himalayas to the tiny mountain-locked kingdom of Bhutan to seek support for the UN Security Council bid. And this, of course, is a fundamental misuse of the Governor-General, even if she herself does not know her own place. Soon it will be Governor-General Quentin Bryce's turn in a 9-country swing through southern and East Africa, including Addis Ababa, the headquarters of the African Union. Foreign Minister Stephen Smith tries to make excuses. The real plastic turkey, yes, how they'd mock Bush as an ignoramus, a bumpkin, and a secret totalitarian for telling Europeans this: I have never understood multi-party democracy. It is hard enough with 2 parties to come to any resolution, and I say this very respectfully because I feel the same way about our own democracy, which has been around a lot longer than European democracy, or for mangling names like this. One working lunch later with EU leaders, Clinton raised more eyebrows when she referred to the EU Foreign Policy Chief, Xavier Solana, who stood beside her, as High Representative Solano. She also dubbed European Commission External Relations Commissioner Benito Ferrero-Waldner as Benito. But yes, it's still Hillary we're discussing, so she spared the vicious mockery heaped on the more savvy Bush. Sweet Sweden goes anti-Semitic. Add mass immigration to Sweden's far left and you get a country not safe for Jews. Dozens of anti-Israel activists clashed with police on Saturday as they tried to storm a closed arena where Sweden and Israel were playing a Davis Tennis Cup match. Rudd should lose a seat, not seek one. Greg Sheridan is right. Going to another bash Israel hate fest of the United Nations is proof that Kevin Rudd's quixotic dreams of a UN Security Council seat comes at too high a price. This campaign of Rudd is so misguided a priority, such a betrayal of Israel, such a waste of money, and such a breach of the role of the Governor-General that it says it all you need to know about the man's complete lack of judgment.